Hi, welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats with GourmetQuilter. I'm Susan Clare, GourmetQuilter, and we're having a lot of fun doing 20 different appliques to do with the sewing room. As you can see up here behind me, we've got already started. So there's 20 in total, but we've already done 7. So we're on to applique number 8 now. So there's a diagram here. I've got the diagram in my hand as well. And so we've done the whole of the top row as I've shown it here, and now we're going to come along the next row onto applique number 8. So there is a pattern available through GourmetQuilter.com if you're interested. It's for the 2020 Tasty Treats applique sewing room. And each day for the 20 days that we're doing the blocks, we're doing one each day. There's a download for each day with the video as well. And so the download will look something like this, depending on, of course, what it is that we're actually appliquing, with all the shapes ready for tracing for fusible applique. So I've gone ahead, I've cut out my shapes for number 8. So what we're doing this time is actually like a little embroidery stand. It's a little hoop on a stand with a little bit of cloth in there that we're stitching on. So I've gone ahead and I've already done some markings, but I'll show you what I do. So I've got my markings on my paper of the fusible web, so that I can then lay them on my light box here, and I can transfer any markings through that I want to be able to do in stitching, or I might be wanting to mark with a permanent marking pen. There's lots of different ways to do it. So I'm going to do them in stitching this time. So I've actually already just used a pencil just to mark anything that I wanted to be something that I can see later on for stitching. So, and I'm going to do the needle and thread of the embroidery aspect by stitching as well. You could applique the needle, you could actually embroider things. There's lots of other ways of doing it, but today I'm going to be stitching it stitching as we go. So I can position this down now. So all the pieces on the pattern are actually numbered, so that it gives you an idea of the order of placement. However, that gets a little bit tricky sometimes, because number 3 is the back part of the hoop, and it has to sit behind this one, but we really need this one to be in place to be able to put that one on. So I'm just going to pop this one on here. So just keep a bit of an eye where things are sitting. So this little hoop kind of sits on this stand here, and keep an eye that things are reasonable side to side. So what we need to do is position this piece, which is the sort of the other side of the hoop, which looks like it's sitting behind. So we just need to lift this up and position that so that it's still just showing. And then the front part of the hoop comes around over the top of that, and it all looks like there's a hoop in place. Just have to fix this a little bit here. It's tucked in a little bit much. That's better. So everything's looking, I feel that looks reasonably like there's a embroidery sitting in a hoop there. So I'm going to iron everything in place. I've got my markings on, I've got all my pieces there, and so I'm going to, because I'm going to free motion stitch, I'm going to put some cotton batting behind, which just acts as a stabilizer. And I just iron it just because it grips together. It's not fusible, the batting, at all. So, and now I can go to the sewing machine and I can do my free motion stitching. So I've got a darker grey thread in the machine. I've got a little open toe free motion foot on. So I think what I'm going to do is come along, I might just do along this edge here first with these little lines that just indicate that sort of gathering that happens when you put something into a hoop. I'm not actually a hand embroiderer, however I do know how the process works more or less. So I'm just going to come along the edge of that hoop. I'm just going to get rid of that thread so it doesn't get in my way. Oops. And then when I get to these little lines that indicate the sort of gather, I'm just going to go past it, and then I'm just going to come and stitch that now. Now you don't want a great heavy line in case you don't stitch exactly on the line, and I have stitched ever so slightly off the line. And we can do these as we go, and that will just help with that impression of what we're trying to show there. So this is a little bit like drawing with your sewing machine. So much fun. There's other things you can do. You can actually, of course, embroider it and things. You can add colour with, there's plenty of markers and things these days for markers on fabric that are permanent. Do some shading with some markers. I'm just doing the stitching. Because I like free motion stitching, probably. So I might just leave that there, and I'll come back and finish going around the hoop, because I just want to show you how I'm going to do all this other stitching in here. So I'm going to start. So this looks like the needle is going in the fabric and coming out the other side, and these are some little hand embroidered stitches. So I'm going to start with this little bit that just covers over the needle, and then I'm going to go around the point of the needle. Then I'm going to come around the hand embroidery, and I'm going to go around that a couple of times so that it's a little bit more showing there. So this little piece, this curve comes across there, and the needle sits just within the scope of that line, so that it goes a little bit past the needle. And I come and do the point of the needle here, and I'm going to come up. Now I'm just going to come onto this for the embroidery part, and I'm going to go around it again, but I'm not necessarily going to go exactly on the line this time. And also up here there's a little bit that comes like a little lazy daisy, if you know the embroidery stitches. So I'm not trying to come exactly on the line this time. Just do my little bit over the top, and it just adds a little bit of dimension to the whole concept of things as well. And so I'm just going to come back along there, and I'm going to come to this other bit here where the needle is now sitting behind. So it really is just drawing with your sewing machine, really. So much fun to do. Where's my needle going? I think we can do the whole needle there. No, I'm just doing the eye of the needle. We can get away with doing some of these little bits because we're going to be stitching over the top with our thread as well. And this thread is coming up around here. And we want to stop so that it looks like it's going in behind the needle there. But here we can come in and we can just do our extra little loop around. So I think we've got a reasonable concept of a needle and thread going in and out of the fabric there, just so you can see that little bit. So I need to now go on and do the rest of the stitching, which is fairly straightforward. So I'm just going to start again where I finished off here, and I'm going to come along that inside edge. Now we need to come along this top of this fabric piece as well as along the actual frame along the top too. And now I'm just going to come around there, and I can come onto the edge of the actual piece of cloth now. So this is all fairly straightforward now, so I might just perhaps keep going, and then I can come back and show you when I'm nearer the end. So I've been around the cloth, I've done the little upright part of the stand, and I've just got this little base to do now. Around the edge. have our little embroidery on a stand. How cute is that? Almost makes me want to start doing some hand embroidery. Almost. So we've got that looking pretty good. So that can go up here in our little gallery. It's definitely something you might find in a sewing room. Might not find it in every sewing room, but you may well find it in a sewing room. So that was applique number 8 in the series. So I will see you again with sewing room applique number 9.